Welcome! We're continuing our stitch along for the Whimsical Flower Hoop today, and we're going to be stitching this filled detached chain flower and this lovely little French knot flower. So we're going to start up here at the top making a filled detached chain. Now, we've made this stitch before. Come on, phone. There we go. We've made this stitch before here as a leaf, and we're going to make it again here, and it's very similar. So let's start with the detached chain. We come up at the base of our petal, and then we're going to go down in the same spot or very close to it, and then we're going to pull down, leaving a loop on top. Then we come up at the tip of the petal and pull in the direction the petal is pointing. Now we're going to do this nice and slow, gentle like, because we really want to have an open, almost loose loop so that we get this lovely petal shape. So in this case, I'm trying very hard to match my guidelines just so I get the shape that I want. When I'm happy with how this petal looks, I'm going to go down on the outside of the petal. There we go. And pull down. And then we repeat. We come up at the base of the next petal. Pull up. Go down at the same spot. Come up at the tip. Pull towards the tip of the petal. Very gently. Can I ease this in place? I'm happy with that. So I'm going to anchor. And then I will make the next 3 detached chains. All right, I finished making my detached chains, and these are a little bit loose. So if there's anything you don't like how it's looking, you can adjust it a little bit with your needle, pull it one way or the other, get the threads to sit how you want. And then we're going to trade to 402, our orange, and we're going to make the filled part. And you can see we have guidelines in the middle of our petals because these filled stitches, the straight stitches in the middle, aren't going to go quite to the tip. There's a little bit of space between the tip of the petal and this stitch. So we're going to come up at the top of the line here, and we're just going to make a big straight stitch coming all the way down into the base of the petal and down. And then this is actually a puff stitch here, so we're going to do it 2 times. We're going to come up at the tip again, and then down into the base of the petal. And then we repeat for all the petals, just making sure not to pull too tight so everything kind of has a nice loose touch on this flower. And we have our fill stitches finished. And I forgot to tell you, both are orange here, our darker orange outside and lighter orange inside. We're working with 3 strands. We're going to finish by making a French knot right here. We want this to be a pretty big knot, so I'm going to use 6 strands of floss. And remember, if you don't have 6 strands left, you can just use 3 strands, double it over, tie a knot, and work that way. So working with 6 strands, we're going to come up kind of in the middle of this space, or on the edge here is what it's going to look like, because my last stitch here is actually just a teeny bit low, so I'm going to put my knot in between the end of my stem and my flower here. So you pull up, and we're going to wrap 2 times for this French knot. So we're going to go thread to the left hand, goes around to the right hand. If you're left-handed, you do this the opposite. And then we'll wrap 1, 2 times around, I like to hold the threads out of the way. Then we go back down in the fabric, very close to our up point. Then you slide the thread down to the fabric. And then we're just going to hold this tail out of the way as we pull down and make our French knot. Then this flower is done. I'm going to change back to orange 402 and we will jump down here and make our second flower. All right, I've moved you down a little bit so you can see our circle down here. And we're looking for 6 strands on this part. So I had a long section of 3 strands. And like I was telling you earlier, I threaded on my small needle and I've pulled it to the center of my longer strand here. Then I'm just going to tie my ends together, and this will make it be pulling 6 strands through the fabric, just like we need. So let's make some more French knots. To make a perfect circle of French knots, we're going to start on the outside. So we're going to make single wrap knots. So we make a big loop with our thread. It goes from one hand around to the needle. Then we wrap one time around, put our needle back down next to our thread, pull that knot down, push the needle through, pull down snug. Then we work in the next spot. Again, pulling up, make a circle with the thread, wrap one time, needle goes down in the fabric next to it, pull the thread down to the fabric, and then pull the needle through. And then we're just going to repeat all the way around our circle, making knots along the edge, and then we will fill in the center. And there's my last knot. At this point, I'm just checking to see if there's any big gaps. And if there is, you can sometimes sneak a little knot in there, but I'm pretty pleased with how this is looking. So I'm going to tie off, and this will be the end of my stitching today.